2.
Welcome everyone to this edition of Around Town. I'm your hostess, Renee Dallas, and tonight we're going to be talking with Mike Escobedo, who's the publisher of the Old Town Orange Plaza Review. We've got a great show lined up for you, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Renee Dallas, and I'm here with Mike Escobedo, who's the publisher of the Old Town Orange Plaza Review. It's a bi-monthly publication which keeps us up to date on the things that are going on around Old Town Orange. Hi, Mike. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Renee. It's nice being here.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started publishing the Plaza Review.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but the Plaza Review, I published the first issue about 10 years ago in 2001. I published the very first issue, but I've been part of the Old Town Plaza since 1989 is when I moved my office here. I've always been in the marketing communications business, and over the years I became familiar with a lot of the downtown merchants, and about 10 years after I was here, one of the merchants found out what I did and invited me to meet a lot of the other merchants. So that's when I kind of saw the group as a whole and realized there was a lot of potential to work together with them to try to bring more awareness to the business here in the plaza.
That's great. Yeah. So you sort of connected all the dots with all the vendors in the area.
Yeah, it was neat because I had seen the people around town. I really didn't know them because I worked pretty quietly up in my office. But as I met them, I really became more familiar with all the different stores and found them all to be terrific stores. And it was just neat, the different personalities. They had so much knowledge about their business. And as individual merchants, they really were limited in what they could do. But as a group effort, there was a lot that we could accomplish. So that's kind of how the Plaza Review started, but we had several products and tools that we developed prior to that.
So what were those tools?
Well, probably the first one that we did is once I met the Plaza merchants, I realized that a lot of the people came down here to shop, and they kind of visited one or two stores. They'd come for Army, Navy, they'd come for Watson's, they'd come to Felix's, but they really, like myself, they didn't realize what else was behind the storefronts. They didn't go into the stores, they'd come to their destination and leave. So the first thing that I recognized, or I felt that we needed to do, was have a map directory, which was kind of like what you see in a mall. It's the kiosk, which had a detailed site plan of what was in the plaza area with a list of the various stores in there. It was called the Orange Pages Directory, and I published, I think, 5 of those.
So then if somebody would go into, let's say, the florist, they would have access to that directory and then know where to go in relation to the florist, to Felix or to a restaurant or their favorite antique store.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, that's great. That was providing a service that didn't exist prior to you coming into town and interacting.
Well, basically there was a map directory, but R.G. Canning, the sponsor of the Rose Bowl swap meet, was publishing it. They had a full-page ad on the back cover that people mistook for the front cover. Then they had a very poorly done map. And I realized, gosh, the merchants were getting it for free, so they liked that, but we didn't have any identity. People would come down here, they'd pick up the piece, and they would mistake it for a Rose Bowl promotion. So it really...
And the Rose Bowl's in Pasadena, right?
Exactly.
Right. So it's kind of hard to feel like this person really knows what's going on if they really originate from Pasadena area.
Exactly. And that was the whole purpose. And it was neat because the merchants didn't really recognize that it was a free piece, but then they realized once the first Orange Pages directory was published, that was a valuable tool, and we were kind of establishing that identity for ourselves.
Right. That's great. So you're going on your 10th year of publishing, and that's quite a milestone.
Oh, thank you.
Really. And
Thank you.
So over the years, what are the major changes you've seen, or some of the major predominant changes you've seen in the Old Town area?
In the plaza area, I guess when I first was introduced to the merchants, Citrus City Grill was just opening. So that was the first high-end restaurant that came to town. When I first started interacting with the merchants, there was really only 3 restaurants. Now there's more than 40. There's quite a few of them. But 10 years ago, when I first published the first issue of the Plaza Review, there was one of the articles was talking about how many restaurants were moving into town. We had 20 at that point, but now I think we have like 45 or something like that. So the biggest change, we still have maintained all the good quality antique stores, but we've supplemented that with a wide variety of different stores. There's fashion boutiques, there's vintage clothing stores, there's markets, there's all kinds of supplemental stores or other interesting stores that have come to the area that really have encouraged a lot of awareness here.
Right. One thing I remember from being a longtime resident of Orange is I remember at 5 o'clock the sidewalks were rolled up, baby. Yeah. And it didn't matter what you wanted to do. There was hardly anybody open. And I always felt that it was sort of a waste of good potential and even a place to go during the evenings just to hang out and be with friends. So that's a big change that I see. Exactly. And that I think a lot of people value being able to come down at night. It really shows itself well, too, now at Christmas, because Christmas, people are walking around. You feel like you're in a Christmas movie downtown at night, and it's very nicely lit and homey.
It's a great area, and that's the same in the morning. A lot of the merchants don't open until 10 or 11, and you come down on the weekend. It's just beautiful because the sun's coming up. It's just a bright, crisp day. Neighbors are out walking their animals, walking their dogs, and the stores aren't open yet. The restaurants are open, so people are dining and stuff, but the stores would be best served if they had longer hours, but each store, they're small businesses, so some of them are the owner-operators that would have to dedicate, many more hours to the store if they, stayed open. And others have paid employees. So they all have their unique situations, but it's a great area, and they would definitely benefit if they were able to justify staying open longer and opening earlier.
Right. But the one great thing that I like about it is that there's so many people that, they're individually owned. It's not a chain. They don't follow everybody else's rules. They get to follow their own, and it adds to the character of Old Town Orange.
Exactly.
I think, which is great. Which we miss a lot in our suburban, mall-infested Southern California.
That's why I fell in love with, as far as working with the merchants, because they all knew about their product. They all really had a passion for their product. And it's like when people came shopping with them, they interacted with the owner who knew about it, and they built friendships, relationships. When they weren't shopping, if the owner would get a piece of merchandise that they knew a certain customer would be interested in, they'll call them up. It's just more of it's much more personal. It's great. It's not like going to a mall or a standard store where you ask a question, the salesperson picks up the same package you could pick up and then reads off the package and doesn't know anything about the product.
Right, and I think when you have somebody more personally connected with the business, you're going to get a phone call back because they really care about the relationship they're building with their customer, where somebody who maybe is in a department store really doesn't have that personal investment in that relationship with the customer. So that's really great to know. And I think for people who don't live in Orange and come too often, it's a great little bit of information for them to know.
And I think people, when they come down here, they just are enchanted by the charm of the area because it's a simpler environment. You see people walking the street. It's like I came in last holiday, I think I just saw a Christmas Carol production over at the South Coast Repertoire, and I came in the following morning, and it was like the very first scene in the Christmas Carol where all the merchants are out sweeping their storefronts and everyone's saying hi to everyone. It was just, it's really a unique area.
Yeah, that's what we love about it. Yeah. One of the great things I think that you've done in your Plaza Review is you usually feature a home, a special home in Old Town Orange. Whatever gave you that idea, and what's the feedback been?
Well, there's so many nice houses here. That's the first thing. When I first started the Plaza Review, we didn't have that feature. But I realized that, gosh, we can't just always talk about the businesses because the neighbors are a big part of the community also with their beautiful houses. And like the merchants, they take pride in their houses. They usually have very interesting backgrounds, and that's what brought them to this area because it takes a special person to appreciate the historical integrity of a lot of the houses. So that section's called the Old Town Property, and it's always, since we've introduced it, we've probably been doing it 6-8 years. I don't even remember, but it's always been the cover story, and I hear from most people that's probably their favorite story out of the publication, which is real nice. And then it also, what I didn't know, it's introduced me to so many neat people who I wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to meet. And then just finding out about their backgrounds are usually just highly qualified professionals that, I feel very fortunate to be interacting or knowing.
Well, I think so, because it's being a historical area. I think the kind of person who would be attracted to a home in Old Town Orange would be somebody who probably, maybe demographically, would be somebody a little more higher educated, have the resources to invest in a house like that, and maybe do the research and the maintenance and the restoration of a home like that.
Exactly, and I find them to be more creative also, and that's what I come from a creative background. It's just the people, they just see something, they could see a shell of something and see the potential in it. So it's just, it's a neat area.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are in the creative field as well, and they love coming down to Old Town Orange, and several of them have had homes, if not in Old Town Orange, in other areas in Orange County that are considered historical, like Floral Park, or maybe the more historic part of Long Beach.
Exactly.
So that's what I have noticed too. They tend to be more creative and value those type of things.
Exactly. You got a lot of architects. You have a lot of photographers. Just people who, writers, people like that. It's Old Town Orange.
It's a special place, and I think it attracts special people.
Yeah.
But that's great. Exactly. Not that the rest of Orange County isn't special. Don't get me wrong, but we love Old Town Orange.
Exactly.
That's why we have this show.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the staff, or how you get your publication out.
Okay.
Or put it to bed, or whatever the terms are. You have a staff you have people that work for you writing some of the articles.
I don't have a full-time staff. When I first started the paper, I was doing the majority of it myself. I did ad sales, accounting, published. I print. Did the artwork. Did the ad sales. But over the years, I found creative people who lived in the area, who were familiar with the paper that I'd be introduced to, or they would seek me out, and they've expressed interest in it. And at this point, I have two dynamite writers. One of them lives right here in Old Town. They get published by other major publishers. I feel very fortunate to be working with them. But they assist a great deal actually now with the later publications as it's grown. I have two fabulous writers. I actually have two photographers who actually live in Old Town Orange also. One of them shoots predominantly the Old Town property. He's more of an architectural photographer. His name's Will Hare. You might know him. I'm not sure. The other Scott Montgomery. The other photographer is. They both have tremendous backgrounds, and that's another thing. Besides meeting all the cool people in town, I'm meeting. Actually working with them.
Right, and they probably lovingly do all this photography for you because they live in this area, right?
Exactly. I afford. I pay them to do it, but it's a modest fee, and there's so many other rewards that they receive because they're meeting all kinds of people, and just the excitement of interacting and doing something that has been upgraded in quality. When I first started the paper, it was just a black and white 8-pager, and now it's full color throughout the issue. It varies from 28 to 32 pages. The photography really stands out, and I think they like being a part of it because they can tell it to their friends, and everyone in town sees it, and their kids go to school, and a lot of times we feature the families, the kids, and all that, so they get a chat about it at school and everything. So it really brings everyone together here in the community.
Right, and I noticed too that you do have features of different departments and professors at Chapman University and activities that go on there as well.
Chapman's such a great part of the community. A lot of people, when they first started expanding, there was a lot of concern about, gosh, they're going to take over the town, they're going to put a 4-way stop light in the plaza. And really Chapman's a good neighbor. They're bringing the high quality not only faculty there, but the student also. And when I first introduced the column that's now known as Building Character at Chapman University, which focuses on a specific professor and a building that's closely associated with him, and it talks about the historical integrity of the building or the architectural elements of what may be a newer building, but then touts the credentials of the professor that is closely associated with it. But it's funny because when we first introduced the column, it was known as neighborly solutions, with Chapman University, where we were featuring a problem, or not really a problem, but just a situation that the community was uncomfortable with. And we were trying to find a solution with it, what Chapman was doing to remedy it. Some of it being like construction noise, early morning construction noise, or late night student parties.
Right.
But I very quickly learned that might not be a good thing, because I didn't have any control over what could be done as far as the community, or what could be done as far as Chapman University. And we were taking what was really an isolated incident with maybe concerned 30 people, 100 people, and expose it to 30,000 people who get the Plaza Review.
So it was sort of let's accentuate the negative.
Well,
Accidentally
it did that, and we realized that really quickly. So then, we had to put our thinking caps on, and we thought building character at Chapman University, I think, would be a neat feature. And it is really neat, because once again, I meet some very interesting people, and the very interesting people are always so busy, so they're not quite so familiar with the Plaza Review, but that introduces them to the Plaza Review. And in turn, it introduces them to the community, the people who are featured within the Plaza Review.
Right.
So, and I think the people in the community are interested in finding out about those professors and the facilities there on campus, which many of them, the community is invited to come and participate in many of the activities, and maybe tour the buildings. But it's a nice column that
I like that.
enjoy.
I like the title "Building Character" too, and it's a good public relations sort of feature that connects better, I think, and maybe promotes a better working relationship between Chapman and Old Town Orange, which it is to each mutual interest to get along and to help each other out and promote things. I know I love the things that Chapman offers for free. I mean, the Black and White Film Festival, and some of the lectures on film, which I love. And
well, they have activities daily, basically, and all hours of the day, and most of them, they have minimal cost, or they're free, and the community doesn't know half of what's going on over there, which they're invited to, and they could participate in. I'm sure they'd find very rewarding and interesting. So it's just taking just trying to expose it to many more people, so everyone could take advantage of it.
Great. Well, how could people? I understand you're online too. So how can people pick up a copy of your publication, or get a hold of you online?
Well, if you live in the city of Orange, you most likely get it delivered, because I mail out almost 22,000 of them.
Wow.
But that leaves about 8,000 of them, actually, that I place throughout the community. It's placed at the various stores here in Old Town, but I also have some placements in Santa Ana, the local hotels, and a lot of the, Rockwell's over in Villa Park. But if someone's interested, they could just call me up, and I could mail them a copy, or I could make arrangements to give them a copy, or they could always see it digitally online at orangereview.com.
Okay, so your website is orangereview.com.
Exactly.
Thanks for being with us for this edition of Around Town. We've learned a little bit more about our community tonight, and we hope that you'll find this information useful. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time around town.